So before this video starts, I'd just like to make a quick announcement that this video will be dedicated to Will Neller, who sadly announced earlier this week that he was diagnosed with an inoperable tumour on his bowel. So from me and the OC community, Will, we say stay strong and hopefully you'll still be alive and kicking in many years to come. Welcome everyone to the 8th round of the 2013 GP4 Offline Championship. I'm your commentator for today, George Roke, and welcome to the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. So after the last race, which was won by Waze Kuba, he extends his lead in the driver's standings, and we also have, in addition to that, a bit of news. The fact that last season's winner here at Silverstone and champion Viggo Holst has unfortunately decided to retire from the series, so that means we have Alex Southgate, who will be taking over his seat for the rest of the season. So we're here at Silverstone. We're obviously using the current layouts of the track. So here we are going around a lap. We've avoided the first half of the circuit, coming down the straight heading in towards Copse. And this was where Evan Byrne overtook Florian Volker in the wet 2011 race. And as we go further on the lap, coming down the Hanger Straight, coming into Stowe, this is where we've had a number of incidents since the EOC began, such as, for example, Felix Sontag and De Rosa's crash in 2012, which was a pretty big crash to say the least. You can see on the left of your screen right there, and also including, we can see overtakes as well, where Armor Car overtook Joseph Willers around the outside of there last season as well. So you never know what could happen in this race. So anyway, let's go to the grid. We'll be using the hard tyres for this race, it should be noted, and obviously the inters and wets monsoons, if, of course, the race is wet. But first of all, obviously we'll go through the driver there and the race rating. The race rating was given, I think it was a 7 out of 10, and David Greenwood was the driver of the day. But anyway, here is the starting grid for the British Grand Prix. Volker on pole, with Will Neller second place for Lotus, and Red Bull respectively. Third place is George Roke, fourth place is Waze Kuba. As we go around, in 5th place is Vedra Vedrina, 6th place is Miguel Ascal, in 7th place is Jamie Kessie, followed by Robert Inescu in 8th. On the 5th row of the grid is Armel Khan, followed by Alex Southgate, making his return to the series in 10th position, bad qualifying for him. 11th place is Joseph Willers, followed by Oliver Glazebrook in 12th. In 13th place is Roman Quell, followed by Franco Gamba in 14th. We move on to row 8. In 15th position is Ricky Clarkson, followed by William Duggan in 16th. 17th place is Rick Yan, followed by Carrossa De Rosa in 18th. This is what qualified from him on row 9. On the 10th row of the grid is Lucas Levi, followed by Roland Moyton for Williams. And on the last row of the grid is David Greenwood in 22nd and Zachary Victoria in 21st. I apologise if I get any words wrong or anything during this commentary, guys, but unfortunately, in the commentary box, you can see the weather is going to be wet for the race. It's going to be it's going to be wet at the start, but it's going to get heavier as the race goes on. But unfortunately, as I'm recording this, my room is hotter than a sauna right now. It's honestly boiling, so don't be surprised if I have a few water breaks in it, which I'm just about to have right now. But anyway, here we are onto the grid for the British Grand Prix. It is wet. It is a wet race here, and it will be for the entire Grand Prix, the typical British weather. As the lights are now coming on, we have 5 lights that are on, and 5 lights go out, and away we go for the British Grand Prix. It's a fairly slow start, but George Roke in the Mercedes is coming through. He's going to take past Will Neller and Volker, and he's going to take the lead, heading into the first corner. What a start by George Roke, who gets ahead, and Will Neller's made a poor start. He's dropped behind Waze Kuba and Vedrina, heading towards Aintree and into the loop. That is not the start that Will Neller wanted, but we need to have a look at what a start that was again by George Roke. You should notice, you can see some of them are on wet tyres. The front two are on wet tyres, whereas George Drake is on the intermediates on the green stripe tyre. You can see he gets a good start, but then he just gets such a better run off the two, and he just takes the lead fairly comfortably there. My goodness me, what a start by George Drake, and he takes the lead of the British Grand Prix. Now that is the start that we needed, and this could be a thrilling race as we go on. As Robbie Ionescu comes around in 7th place, we look through the rest of the field. Joseph Willis down in 11th. There's Levi trying to make a move on Franco Gamba. Goes a little bit wide as they come onto the Brooklyn straight, and it looks like so far everyone has avoided contact as of now. No one has actually had any incidents in the first corner we had back in previous years. As we look at Will Neller, who dropped all the way down to 6th. It's not been a good start for him in front of his home fans. This hasn't quite been his season so far as they go onto the straight out of Luffield, and they head now down towards Stowe for the very first time, coming down past the old pit straight. Now it's side by side in front of Vidrina in the battle for second place between Volker and Kuba. And who can take it as they come into Maggots and Beckett, and Kuba can't quite get it. Vidrina's there, and so is Miklos Gal in the other Red Bulls. They come through Maggots and now through Beckett for the very first time. 52 laps there will be at this race as they come through now down onto the back straight. And as they come through, Vidrina is right behind, but now Kuba is making a move on Volker, coming into the right-hander, coming into Stowe, and he's going to make it stick, and yes he does. He moves up into second place. Now he's under pressure from Vidrina. Is Volker for third position as they head round towards Stowe for the first time. Heading into the final couple of corners, they head into Vale, and then they head into Club. It's getting a little bit stacked up there. Vidrina in fourth, having a great start so far. As we look at Southgate, it's moved to 8th. Mackenzie battling with Joseph Willis, who's got ahead of the Force India of Omar Carr as they come through the rest of the pack for their first lap of the British Grand Prix. And George Drake got a 3-second lead already ahead of the rest of the pack. And Vidrina has now moved into third position, and now Will Neller is trying to overtake both Gal and Volker, going now down around the outside of Volker, and he's going to take fourth position back. What a move by the British driver there. And I don't know how Volker's just lost that many positions all of a sudden then. We need to have a look at it again to see how on earth that has happened. And let's go on board. So Vidrina is making a move on Volker coming into the first turn, and it looks like he makes it stick, and then Volker, the lad run out the corner, and then he makes a move on the Red Bull, and Neller just takes advantage of it and goes right down the outside of both there. Let the pass down, and he goes round the outside of Volker and takes the position there. And that is him up into fourth place. Still a couple of positions off where he started, but it's progress nonetheless. As now Gal's on the inside of Volker, coming now down into Brooklands, and now heading in through Luffield onto the back straight. Going past the old pit there, Southgate is up to 8th place, who's involved in this battle. He's just about holding up. There's a battle behind between Willows and Mackenzie. Willows goes around the outside of Willows and completes the move for 9th position. As they're coming now down the back straight, they come into right hand. Is going to make it stick. Is Willows? Not quite. It's just about side by side between the two. And is he going to get it quite stuck there? It's still side by side, but I think he's got past it. Yes, he has. Willows up into 8th place. Southgate's lost out big time there. Coming onto the front straight, so Kuba and Vidrina have got away from the rest of the pack. And now it's still a battle with Volker. It could be down to 8th place after just 2 laps. So he's running in second at one point, and now he's going to drop nearly outside the top 10. As Ines is going around the outside. Has he made it stick? And yes, he has. And now he's under pressure from Joseph Willows behind for 7th position is now with Volker. As Willows can't quite get past there as George Drake sets the fastest lap of the Grand Prix. As we're looking through the rest of the pack, we're now on to lap 3 of the race as Volker and Southgate are battling. I'm absolutely roasting in my room right now. I'm struggling to do this, to be honest. But anyway, we're looking at Volker and Southgate battling for 9th position as they're coming down the hangar straight. They're one behind the other. It's side by side. Southgate's on the inside, coming into Stone. Is he going to make the move? Stuck, and oh, there's contact, and Southgate's around. Volker's off into the gravel, and there's another crash behind, which I think is involving, not sure who, I think De Ross has been involved in that. There's a Toro Rosso there involved. That is Franco Gamba. Southgate has rejoined, I believe, and oh no, he hasn't. And the debris has gone off his car. He's obviously caught the curb or something. And now Franco Gamba rejoins. There's a spectacular slide across the circuit there. And Volker goes into the wall, and he has been eliminated from this Grand Prix. And that is him out of the race. Oh my word. as Southgate and Volker eliminated on the third lap of the race. And let's have a look at what happened. So Southgate was attacking Volker, who's on the inside of him, coming into Stowe, and you can see there's just a little bit of contact, and that spun them both out. And then there was another crash behind between De Rosa and Franco Gamba, battling for 14th position. So De Rosa is on the inside and it's made the contact there. And De Rosa is going to have to hit. Oh, this comes out right in front of Zachary Fitzwater there. It really could have been a whole lot worse. That was very nearly a bad collision there. But Southgate sees he was going to rejoin. He hadn't got any damage up until around about it was about now, and there goes the car. There goes the damage on. Unfortunately for Southgate, that is his first race back in the OC, which is now been finished for the time being. He won't be able to get back in the race now, so that's his first race back in the OC finished. I'll have to hope for better in the next race of the season. But Gamba does rejoin. He's not got any damage from that, however, so he's been quite lucky. We're looking on board with Jose Willis, who's attacking Robert Ionescu, the Romanian driver, for P6. And he's on the inside, and there's yellow flags out here, so I'm be interested to see. I think Jose Willis overtaking here may have overtaken him on the yellow flags. You can see at the top of your screen on the dashboard, well, on the graphic, I should say, the yellow flags are out. So I think Jose Willis has overtaken Ionescu, and he's actually got past the Red Bull there of Nicolas Gal as well, under yellow flag conditions here. And he's got past both, and then obviously there goes the yellow flag off the circuit there. So that is, I think we could see a penalty for Jose Willis there, but we'll have to see what the stewards say about that one. So, and there's Jose Willis, who moves for the moment up to 5th position. Whether or not there'll be a penalty, we shall see come the end of the race. And, well, that is going to be interesting to see if that impacts the end of the race or not. But for the moment, Jose Willis moves up into P5. He's now looking currently at George Rick, who's got a comfortable lead at the front of the field ahead of Wade Cooper's. Now looking at Will Nella, Will Nella, he's got a problem, I think, and yes, Will Nella pulls off to the side of the track, and Will Nella's race is done, and he's got a technical problem, and by the looks of the way the car's going, it could be possibly a suspension failure, I think, by the looks of it. Not 100% sure, and I think we need to have a look at the steering wheel again, but I believe it was a suspension failure that caused him to unfortunately retire from the race. And unfortunately, Will Nella, it's not the race that he would have wanted. And yep, there it is, a suspension problem has caused him to retire from the British Grand Prix. That's sad for Will Nella. It just hasn't been his season. He's had 2 pole positions, and he's not had either of them to win. It's not been the season he would have wanted at all, really. And unfortunately for Nella, that is his race over. And I have to hope that maybe his teammate Ionescu gets a good result for the Lotus team, and have to hope that his luck will maybe change during the second half of the season. We're now looking at the Red Bull of Nicolas Gal, who's making his way onto the back straight, who's now right behind the Ferrari of Waze Cooper, I believe this is, battling for P4, and he's right behind him. He's going to try and make a move around the outside, and doesn't quite do that. He's going to have to wait until the next corner, but he's now going to have Ionescu behind him, and the McLaren as well, not the McLaren, the Mercedes, sorry, of the Jay McKenzie. Jose Willis sets the fastest lap of the race, as here comes George Rope, who comes for his first stop of the race, and he's on intermediate tyres. So I think, will he go onto another set of the inters, or will he go onto a set of wets, will be the big question. And the answer is he goes on to wet tyres. There we go. That is the answer to the question. He goes on to wet tyres. And 6.8 second stop, a little bit slow. But let's see where he comes out on track. Obviously, because it is supposed to rain, or keep raining for the rest of the race. It's not meant to stop, but it's not rained particularly hard so far. You can see the screens right now are out. The clouds are out. I don't know what I was saying there, sorry. The clouds are out. It's blue skies, I should say, are out. But it'd be interesting to see if it keeps raining. But at the moment, it is going to keep raining, so I imagine it's not probably going to get any nicer than this. As now Gal trying to make a move on Roke, coming into the first corner. And it's not even the first corner, I'm struggling to say my words. He's coming into the right-hander. I mean, this heat, I have to say, while I'm doing this commentary, I'm currently super hot in this room. It's honestly ridiculous. So I apologise if my words are not coming out right. But anyway, Robert Ionescu comes out of the pits, and he's running now in 8th position. And we're looking, there's now Ricky Hartson comes in for his first stop on the race. So it'll be interesting to see, obviously, with all of them going on wet tyres, if first of all, how long it will last if they'll go to the end of the race, or if they'll have to pit to, of course, as we know, the extreme wet tyres. That will be the next question. But we'll have to wait till we come later in the race. At the moment, everyone appears to be going onto the wet tyres. So, apart from Miklos Gal, however, who himself has gone to the extreme. Now that is interesting. So how many people are going to go on the extremes? Obviously, clearly they know that the weather is going to be worse as the race goes on. But the question is how much worse will it get? At the moment, the blue skies are out. It doesn't appear to be raining that much, but they clearly think that it's going to change soon, as now Lucas Levi comes into pits for his first stop. He goes onto the wet tyres, so he doesn't go on the extreme wet or the monsoon tyres, as they're also known by. And let's have a look. He comes out of the pits, and he can looks like in P14, just ahead of Ricky Hartson in the Force India. We're now on lap 14. It's been a fascinating race so far. Josie Willer's already up into second place as William Duncan will be pitting this lap. As we're now looking on board, and this is as Armar Carr just in front of him decides to also pit for a set of most likely the wet tyres. As you can see, the skies have got a lot more cloudy now, so the rain I think is definitely coming. But the question is, will they stay on wets or go onto the extreme wets? And the answer is they go onto the extreme wets. Well, Carr does, but William Duncan does not. He goes onto the wets. So Carr goes onto the monsoon tyres and Duncan goes on to the wet tyres. Now this is going to be very interesting indeed. Which teams are going to gamble? Which teams are going to go safe, so to speak? If it's raining a bit more, I'd say probably stay on the wet tyres. I wouldn't say go on the monsoon yet, as Oliver Glazebrook is going a little bit wide, coming out the final corner onto the pit straight there. And here's a look at what happens again. So he's running 11th. He's still got quite a few laps to before he pits, of course. But it's not going to help him if he runs wide. I think he's lost a few positions as well in the meantime. And he just about holds it from spinning there. That was a good save, but he still lost a few positions nonetheless. It's not really going to help him later on in the race. And let's see. He drops down to, I think it was 15th position, I think he dropped down to. As we're looking at Vedran Vedrina, who himself has gone on to the extreme wet tyres. And let's see where he comes out onto the track. He's running in P5. He's come up behind, looks like the battle for third between McKenzie and Cooper, as McKenzie goes down the inside and takes third position. That is third place done for him. As now Roman Quagg is running in 6th place at the moment. We haven't seen that much of him, but he's having a fantastic race, the Frenchman, in P6 right now. So we're looking at a big gaggle of cars who are battling for P9. So this is a battle as Armar Carr as Ricky Hartson, trying to get past his teammate Armar Carr as they're coming down the back straight. He's not going to have it done there. He can't quite make it stick. He's still right behind him as they're coming into the next corner. And actually now Levi has gone past Ricky Hartson, so he's caught him napping there. Good news there by the Singaporean driver, and he's now moved up into what is right now the last point spot of the season, of course, with the points going up from 1 to 8 to 1 to 10 places on the track. And now Jamie Kenty is coming in for a pit stop. Would he go on to the extreme wets? The answer is yes, he does. So he goes on to the extreme wet tyres, and Roman Quad comes in. I imagine he'll do the same. And yes, he does. He goes on to the extreme wets. So I think there's a few cars out there, because I think George Rope went out on the wets. So all the good drivers, most of them have gone on to the extreme wets. So let's see if it changes during the race or not. Roman Quad comes out in P7 right now. He's going to come actually ahead of Robert Ionescu, so it's worked out pretty well for him right now, as we're looking at Ionescu coming into the first right-hander into the entry and then into the loop, the new section of track added back in 2011. Anyway, Joseph Willows now comes into the pits, and let's see if he goes to the extreme wets, which he duly does. So Joseph Willows, who started down the field outside the top 10, as George Rote now comes in for, looks like, monsoon tyres, as he was on the wets, and I think Kuba behind him is doing the same. So it looks like the monsoon tyres are the way to go. So it's not worked out particularly well for George Rote, but it's worked out very well indeed, though, for Joseph Willows, who has showed fantastic pace during this race, no pun intended, as now Waze Kuba, who is pitting for a set of, well, no tyres apparently, according to the game. Excuse me. And let's see. Well, yeah, for some reason he's not gone out with any tyres, for some reason. But okay, right, so he's now gone onto the extreme wets. So it looks like extreme wets are the tyre to go to. As now Ionescu has gone around the outside of Waze Kuba. And let's see if he can make... Let's have a good replay, I should say. And he went round, so he did try and originally go around the outside, but then he still technically passed him round the outside just before Vale into club. So, you know, that was a good move by Ionescu, and he's now moved ahead of Kuba. And so far it's not particularly gone that well for him, really. As we're looking at William Duncan, who is battling here with the Toro Rosso of, I believe this is Lucas Levi, trying to go around the outside. There was a little bit of contact there between the drivers, and they were lucky there wasn't any damage there. And we'll have another look at the replay. So Duncan was trying to go around the outside, and he couldn't quite make it stick, and there was not quite enough room for the move to be done, and he managed to keep position there. So there we go. And now, and Franco Gambler's got a problem. Franco Gambler's got a throttle problem there. That is not what he wanted to have during this race at all. He was already last, and it's not certainly going to help him in this race situation at all, really. So it's been a pretty disastrous race so far for both him and for Toro Rosso, really. So not exactly the race that he would have wanted in the slightest. And now he's going to have to pit to fix that throttle problem, because it's not technically too bad as of right now. And he comes into the pits. He now does come in, and he's now going to pit. Okay, he's already last, but he's now going to be completely last. Going to be in a race all on his own, pretty much right now. There's no doubt about that. And let's see well, he's going to come out last. The question is, how far away is he from the rest of the pack? That's a good question.
Okay, no pressure.
And
just prepare yourself for the first gear.
He comes in, the car's repaired. You can obviously do that in this game. And let's have a look. He comes out in 90th position. Oh my word! There is a huge crash there, and Lucas Levi's car is completely destroyed. And we're having a look at a replay here, and wow, that is an incredible crash there between Lucas Levi and involving William Duncan. So Toro Rosso's day goes even bad to worse. My God. As we have a look at this again, there unfortunately just wasn't quite enough room for both cars to go around the corner there. You could just see, unfortunately, that was inevitable to happen. And, of course, fortunately for Levi, his car is now completely destroyed. His race is over, and I do hope he's okay, because that was a big incident, to say the least. Would I say it's worse than the crash last year? It's up there, but although we did hit the wall with some whack on that, to be fair. But anyway, and that actually just happened just in front of Joseph Willis, so he's lucky that he wasn't involved in that. And look, so Duncan shutting on the inside, unfortunately, just didn't quite work out for him there. And Duncan, who was running in the lower bit of the field, and actually I think he lost a bit of his front wing as well. He hadn't lost it originally after the collision, but as he tried to rejoin, and there he goes. There goes a bit of his front wing. So Duncan is going to have to pit as well. Oh dear me, it's turning into an absolute disaster for Toro Rosso today. Probably one of their worst races of the season, I think. So looking at Rick Yan, who's coming in for his first, I believe it's his second stop of the race. I don't actually know if he's made a first. I haven't seen it on the, haven't seen it so far. But he comes in for a stop onto the wet tyres, not on the monsoon tyres. Let's see, he comes up in P13. Not a great number. Oh, and there's two, and that is veteran Vedrina and Miko Scala off the circuit, and that is at Stowe again. And what has happened here? So veteran Vedrina, who's having a fantastic race, has crashed. Oh my goodness me. And well, his car unfortunately isn't completely destroyed, but we need to have a look at what happened, and it looks to be the exact same thing as to what happened between Levi and Duncan. So Gal was making a move on the inside, and yep, there was the contact. Not as bad as it has been. Gal spins off. I don't believe he got any damage from that. Looking on board with Vedrina, and there was the contact, and then there was the impact, which unfortunately broke Vedrina's car right there. And there we go. So Gal was on the inside, tried to kind of force his way through. You could say in a way that was kind of like a dive bomb, but it didn't quite work out. Excuse me, for Gal there. And well, there we go. That is Vedrina's race over. That's disappointing. He could have been on for probably a podium, certainly at least a points finish. And there was a bit of contact there between Greenwood and Glazebrook. Glazebrook not having a good race at all, considering how well he has performed this season. Looking at what happened, so on board with David Greenwood, and he's got a little bit too close to comfort there, and he's lucky that he didn't get any damage from that, Greenwood, but he managed to get past Glazebrook nonetheless, although probably not in the exact way that he did just there. And so we're looking at this stage when he's got a pretty comfortable lead up front, and we're looking on board with Waze Kuru, who's made contact with Quag, and he's spun. Quag has kept on going, and Kuba spins and loses a bit of his front wing on the on the curb, and he's now on the grass. He's in a tricky situation here, and he's now spinning on the grass, it seems, and now he's doing donuts in the halfway point of the race. He's I don't really know what to say, really. And now, unfortunately, Kuba is going to lose a massive ton of time and positions, and that was, I believe, on my car that just went into the pits just then. And he's still going around in circles. I don't think he understands that the pit lane is literally just about 2 meters in front of him that he can just go into and repair his car, but he is really costing himself a lot of time.
Just prepare yourself for the first gear.
Excuse me. And he's now down to 11th, so he's already out the points, and he's still lost his front wing. He's still in the same position he is in. He stopped for some reason, unless he stalled the car or something. Oh no, he's actually got it going again. And he now finally rejoins. And well, no, he's still doing donuts. I thought he was going to rejoin right there and then. He's still going around and around. And he's still going around in circles. I don't know what he's doing. He's now getting further closer towards the pit entry, and he now finally makes his way into the pits. That was quite incredible. That was quite incredible, I have to say, what Waze Kuba did just then. And he now finally gets to the pits. He's now down already to 15th position. It's not exactly going particularly well for him so far.
First gear.
And he's now going to be out of the points. And let's have a look. Well, we're going to have a replay of all the various donuts. All the donuts. I mean, if you want to count how many he's done, then be my guest. But you see, so he was trying to go around the outside of the quad, got a little bit too close to comfort, and there, boom, was the contact. And then he lost his wing on the curb there, and well, we all know what would happen next. You can see it for yourself.
We're going to have some good clean air here. We can really make this
there we go. That is Kuba's race done and dusted. Well, I would take down Dustin. I don't know if we'll get any points out of this. It's going to be tough ask to say the least, but you never know. You just never know. But anyway, Roman Quagg now comes into the pits. He was on a set of, I think that was the monsoon tyres, and he's now actually gone onto a set of the wets. So he's gone 25 laps of fuel in, so he will be going to the end of the race. But let's see where he comes out on track. Now looking at Armar Carr, who, as we're looking at battle between obviously Carr and De Rossi. De Rossi obviously made a move on Armar Carr, as you can see here, as he comes into turn 1, and De Rossi was on the inside. Carr tried to hang it round the outside, but De Rossi had a slightly better exit, and that was the move complete. That was the move up into P9. And we're looking we're now looking at David Gould in the pit. I think that was I believe that was Sauer. It was actually De Rossi who was in the pits. He's just come out. It was actually Fitzwater has come into the pits. David Green was just going into the pit stop just in front of Fitzwater. Fitzwater, one of the few drivers who actually has yet to score a point so far this season. Glazebrook come in the pits, obviously just after De Rossi had, and unfortunately the team aren't ready for him, so it's not worked out well. Gallagher's come out and has had to wait for both Ionescu and Mackenzie to go by. It's been quite a fascinating race so far, to say the least.
Just prepare yourself
well,
for the first gear.
as we're looking at Ionescu now coming into the pits, he's come out still behind Mackenzie, so it was a little pit stop battle there, but Mackenzie has come out on top. Right there, Joseph Willis is still so comfortably in the lead. It's quite frankly ridiculous how he's just had so much pace on the car. And wow, so Ionescu comes up behind him in P5, Mackenzie in P4, Quagg running in P6 right now. This is where Moulton's teammate running in P7 way back. He's going to come in for a pit stop. He's going to come from P7 and Moulton. So both Williams have had really good races so far. It's unusual because they haven't had a great start of the season. The car has been a bit of a dog, quite honestly. There's no other way of putting it, to be honest. It's not been very good at all. And Roland Moulton comes in for a stop. How long will he stop being? The question is, will he go on to the wet tyres? Comes in, and what tyres are they? Yep, they are the wet tyres, so clearly the track isn't getting that much wetter. There was Joseph Willis just going in front straight. There's Ricky Hartrazane in the other Force India coming out of the pits. And let's see where he comes back out onto the track. There's Rick Yan, who's coming out behind Armar Carr in the Force India. As we come through into turn 1, you can see actually Jan has gained a fair bit on him there, so we've got a much better entry through the corner. He's right behind him. He's going to try and make a move. No, he's not. Not quite there. You can see Jan just had such a better run there through the corner. As he comes now through the left-hander, coming on to the back straight. Although he's lost a bit of time to Carr here, so I don't think he'll get him at the end of the straight. And the answer is no, he won't. As George Rope now comes in for his final stop of the race, I imagine he'll go onto the wet tyres. And the answer is yes, he does. He comes onto the wets. And let's see where he comes out onto the track. And he comes out, he's dropped down to P4, he's dropped down behind Ionescu, and I think he might drop down behind Mackenzie as well, which I think he might have already done. I think Mackenzie's actually in front of Ionescu, so it's not particularly worked out very well for George Rope so far this race. And he comes out in P5, so Quagg is obviously well back in the distance. Joseph Willers, the leader who's dominated this race ever since he took the lead, is going to pit for I imagine the final time. He now comes into the pits, and let's see. He comes in, and I imagine and I imagine, sorry about that. I imagine that they'll fuel him to the end. Indeed, they do, and they put him on to a set of the wet tyres. And let's see where he comes out onto the track. I imagine P1. I mean, Gal's in P2, but I don't imagine he's actually that far in front, really. So that's come back out in the lead. So it's looking pretty comfortable for him right now, I'd say, for sure. As we're looking at the battle between Robert Ionescu and I believe this is George Roque 4P3. Actually, I think it's Mackenzie, I should say. He's tried to go around the outside there, and he has, and Roque's been left absolutely in the distance. And Ionescu's just gone round past Mackenzie there. I was not expecting that. I thought Mackenzie had covered him off for good, but Mackenzie has been quite mad there, quite honestly, and Ionescu just went round the outside and got such a better exit out of that corner there. And wow, so he made a move into P3 there, bringing Mackenzie down to P4. So it's not been the greatest of races for the Mercedes. Unfortunately, it hasn't worked out quite as well for them as they would have imagined, as now we're looking at Rick Dean, who's coming in for his he's running in P9 actually, so he was having a pretty good race, I have to say. And he comes out of his pit box, and so does Armar Carr actually. He's going to come out just behind. So Jan has got past him on track, and he's now jumped him in the stops, or kept ahead of him I should say in the stops. But he comes out in P10 in his car. He's come out just ahead, it looks like, of De Rosa in the Sauber. And indeed he does, and there's De Rosa just coming down into the corner right now. This is important for Carr if he wants to get some points out of this race. There's De Rosa in 11th. So looking at the battle for 10th place between Armar Carr and De Rosa. De Rosa's right behind Carr, so coming onto the straight, and he's going to try and overtake him coming into the left-hander. Is he going to make it stick? And yes, he does. And he moves up into 10th place. Carr down to 11th. He goes wide down the third corner as well. It doesn't help. He's now looking at David Greenwood battling, and oh, hang on, he was battling with Glazebrook, who's gone way wide again for I think about the third time this race. And so that is Greenwood up into 14th position. Glazebrook has had probably one of his worst races of the season. Tried to defend from Greenwood and just went way too wide. The car just sliding off through the corner right there. And that is Greenwood up a position and into P14, although it's pretty relevant because it's not for the points, but at least clearly it's not higher than Greenwood would have wanted. But Glazebrook, who's had a race to forget, quite honestly, there's Roman Clark, he's still running in 6th place right now, so it's pretty good for him. Because we are now onto the final lap of the race, and Joseph Willows is leading right now. He took the lead from George Roque in the stop, and he's never really looked back. His pace has been absolutely immense, quite honestly. I mean, no one has looked coming even slightly close to him. I don't even know what the gap to Gal is in 2nd place, but it's pretty big, I imagine, as we look at him lapping the Williams here. And he goes past the Williams, coming down onto the old pit straight. And I just really want the graphic bar on the bottom to see the lead between Gal and Willows at the front. And there we go, 47 seconds. And he's a minute clear of Ionescu in 3rd. My goodness me. Wow, that's almost like the Lewis Hamilton drive from Silverstone in 2008, that one. He's that far in front of everyone else, just no one's looked even close to touching him. But as Joseph Willows comes down the front straight, he's up to Sauber, coming into Stowe for the final time, as we now have a yellow flag out on track. And oh, that's David Greenwood and Fitzwater, who have tagged each other coming into Stowe, just in front of Willows. And Greenwood was making a move on the inside, and there was the contact with Fitzwater, and they both spun. And that's not exactly good for their races. They weren't exactly going to get any points, but I don't know if they'll lose any positions. But anyway, that doesn't matter, as Joseph Willows is coming around at the final couple of corners. He's not had the best start of the season, but this is the way that he would have wanted to win it. And Joseph Willows comes around the final corner, and in front of his home fans is going to win the British Grand Prix. Congratulations to him. Clark comes home in a fantastic 6th. As we look at Duncan, and that was De Rosa coming in front of him in 13th. Fitzwater does rejoin in 15th. He's going to come out ahead of Greenwood in that battle in that battle anyway. But in positions wise, Fitzwater will come across the line in 15th. In 16th place is Greenwood. And as we're looking through the rest of the orders now, Rivki Parkting going to take another good points finish for Force India, and he'll come across the line in 7th position. And there we are. Franco Gam comes across the line in 17th, as Miklos Gauss to take a 2nd place for Red Bull. Never really looked close to it, coming close to Joseph Willows, but he comes across a 2nd. I think he'll be very happy with that. But there is a possibility of penalties, however, at the end of the race. So we'll have to wait and see. Rick Yans to come across the line in 9th position. What a race by the Chinese driver. And oh, Omar Carr's out the race. Omar Carr, has he gone across the line yet? I don't think he has. And Omar Carr on the last lap of the race has retired, and we'll have to have a look at the speed wise. And yes, he was still going on. He was battling De Rosa for the final point. And as we come into Brooklands and then coming into Luffield, he's had a problem of some sort. He comes round, and yes, there it was. Coming into the right-hander, he's suffered an issue and he had to pull off the track. You see he's going a lot slower. Oh dear me, I don't even know what the problem was. Poor car as he comes round down past the old pit exit through Stowe. And oh dear me, that is disappointing for Omar Carr. He'll be getting no points today. Ionescu comes across the line in temporary third, I think, and now Jay McKenzie for Mercedes had to come across the line in 4th position, and indeed he does. De Rosa comes across the line in 10th, but there are still going to be penalties dished out. We still don't know if that's been a penalty for the Joseph Willows yellow flag incident early on in the race. George Roke comes across the line in P5, and there we are. The race is over, and Joseph Willows is your winner of the British Grand Prix. What a race that was! And the British weather does it once again. Throws up a thrilling race. But anyway, here are the race results. So Joseph Willows won despite getting a penalty for that yellow flag incident. Robbie Ionescu was second, as Miguel Scal, with that penalty, with the collision with Regina, drops down into third. So Ionescu takes second, Gallagher third, Mackenzie in fourth, Roke in fifth, Quag in sixth, Farquharson in seventh, Moitin in eighth, Jan in ninth, and Wade Scuba completed the top 10. So De Rosa also got a penalty for his incident as well, and he dropped outside of the points. Whether or not he's dropped many positions will be interesting to see. So let's have a look at the the rest of the results in now, as De Rosa dropped down to 11th with that penalty. So Carr was 12th, Glazer was 13th, William Duncan was 14th, Zachary Fitzwater was 15th, David Greenwood was 16th, Frank Gamble was 17th, with veteran Virginia, Lucas Levi, Will Neller, Alex Southgate, and Florian Volker retiring from this race. The fastest lap was also set by Joseph Willows, a 1:35.985. So he well and truly dominated this race. I mean, there's no other way of putting it then. So well done to him once again. So now we are going to move on to the drivers and the constructor standings right about now. Here we go. And so Wade Scuba actually leads. He's on the same amount of points as Miguel Gal, but the fact that he's won 3 races and that Gal has only won 1 means that he is leading, with Ionescu third, Joseph was in fourth, Mackenzie fifth, Volker sixth, Roke seventh, Nella eighth, Drina in ninth, and Holst completing the top 10 with Harkazane, Gamba, Duncan, Glazebrook, De Rosa, Quag, Greenwood, Jan, Moitian, completing all the points scorers, and Carr as well, I should say, with Fitzwater, Levi, and Southgate currently the only 3 drivers yet to score a point this season. So let's move on to the constructors. So Ferrari leading by just 7 points ahead of Red Bull in second, who themselves are just 33 points ahead of Lotus in third, who are just 5 points ahead of Mercedes in fourth. So it's quite a good battle at the top there. In fifth place is McLaren, 6th place is Toro Rosso, 7th is Force India, 8th is Sauber, 9th is Williams, 10th is Murcia, and 11th is Caterham. And that has been the British Grand Prix. I hope you guys enjoyed. I apologise if the commentary wasn't particularly good today, but it's incredibly hot in this room, and it just honestly drains the absolute life out of you. But anyway, I'm not going to drag on about that. Don't forget to, as usual, vote for your driver of the day and give the race a rating out of 10. Thanks for watching, everyone, and we will see you for the next round. What round is it? It is the German Grand Prix. There we go, at the Nürburgring. Thank you for watching, and we shall see you there.